Hello and welcome to this session of active self-paced trainings. In this session, we're going to talk about activities and how to work with waivers. Now, a waiver is a document that you're going to attach to an activity that the parent or customer will need to agree to before they're able to complete the registration. So sometimes this is going to be a parent packet. This may be a concussion waiver or a waiver of liability. This may be a volunteer code of conduct waiver. There's various and sundry different things that we may have need to attach to an enrollment. But fundamentally, what happens is all of these have to be agreed to prior to the person completing the registration. So this is a good thing for us because we can say, listen, you needed to agree to these terms and conditions before you registered, because if you didn't, then the registration would never have taken place. So the registration is contingent on the person agreeing to these terms and conditions. So let's take a look at how this looks in active. I've got a program here, Y Basketball Clinic, and I want to attach a waiver to it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the basketball clinic, and then I'm going to click on Change Checklist. Now, a checklist is really a waiver. They just use a different terminology for it. Really, this is just a waiver. We're going to go ahead and say add a new one. And then I get to do some options here, but I also get to look at all of the different waivers that I have available to me. So I'm looking for the sports code of conduct in this case. All right. And we've got some settings that we need to do for this waiver. First of all is we need to set the include condition. If you want this to happen every single time that somebody registers for this program, you're going to set this to always. Now there are other items in here, if they're a minor, if they're a senior, if they're a member. For most cases, you're going to set this to always. If you want to have a due date, which means you're going to allow them to register for the program, and then they have to complete the waiver within a certain time period, you can turn this on, although we highly discourage you from doing that. We'd like to see all of the waivers be completed at the time of registration. Show online. Yes, we want to have this to show online. This would be if the waiver, if the member is registering online, then we want this waiver to display. Can be signed online, same thing. We want them to be able to agree to it online. Required before completing transaction. Yep, we're going to keep that turned online. Show item online on enrollment page. I'll be honest with you, I don't know what that one does, so we might play with it later and see what that does for us. This one here is kind of important. The digital signature. So how do you want this waiver to be agreed to? Do you want it to be a checkbox, which they simply have to check the box and to say that I've agreed to the waiver? Do you want them to initial it to say, yes, I agree to this waiver? Or do you want them to do an e-signature? Now, an e-signature online is super easy. It pops up with a box. It's not as easy to do at the walk-up, but we're going to set this one for e-signature. Show signature line checked on. Waiver duration. Now, if you have a customer or a member who is doing a lot of programs, a lot of, let's say, sports programs, you don't necessarily want them to have to sign this waiver every single time that they enroll in a sports program. So what we can do is we can say, if I sign this waiver today, this waiver is going to be good for 180 days post this enrollment. So if in 4 weeks we register for another program that requires this waiver, the waiver will not pop up again. It will automatically say, no, it's been 180. It hasn't been 180 days yet. So this original waiver is still good. So that's what you can do there. You can set that for that. You can also say 0 days. So every single time that they would enroll, they would have to sign the waiver. I like to give it a little bit of time in there just so he doesn't feel like we're pounding every single enrollment with all of this legal stuff all at one time. All right, and then we're going to click Save. So now you're going to see that we have a parent code of conduct. It's going to show online. The required before due date, that's why it didn't say required. So it's required no, but realistically, because we have the required before completing transaction turned on, then it actually is required to do the enrollment. So I'm going to go back to activity functions, and then let's go see what this looks like when we register for somebody. So let's go grab Bart, and we're going to go to his online account. And you're going to see this online account's going to pop up over here. Let me grab this number here so we know what program we're going to enroll in. If I look at activities and I search for the number, we have our Y basketball clinic, 5 to 7-year-olds. We're going to say enroll now. We'll select our participant of Bart. We'll see it's going to be $55. We'll add that to our cart. And here we have the waiver. So there's a couple of waivers actually going on here. One of them is the concussion form, which is what we call a global waiver. And I would have to check this here and then initial it. I can click on the agree to. So there's two links here. There's the concussion form and there's the attachment. If I can click on the concussion form, all participants must view and agree to the attached forms. Okay. And then if we click on the attachment, you'll see, and I got to drag this to the other screen, you'll see the participant concussion form that pops up. And this is what the attachment actually is. Okay. So I'll initial that. Homer J. Simpson. And then we've got our agree to our parent code of conduct. So if I click on this, you'll see in this one, it actually lists all the text. And this is the preferred way. So we are going to be doing some work on our waivers moving forward. We want to be able to have a text version and then also an attachment version that comes up maybe sometime. Well, that's downloading. So I'm going to go ahead and click that box. I'm going to do my signature line. And then I'm going to come up here and say checkout. Well, I'm signed in as Bart. Yeah, that'll get me every time. I'm not signed in as mom or dad. I'm signed in as Bart, so I'm not 13 years of age. So, of course, it's not going to allow me to complete the registration. But what we've now discovered is you need to make sure that you're signed on as mom and dad, first and foremost. But that also, we've seen how that waiver process works online. Now, waivers are a little tricky. You can't set up waivers on your own. It's something that we have to do on the back end. So if you are interested in using waivers, there's a few things that you have to do. One, type up your waiver. Okay, it has to be in writing. It has to be a Word document, something with a letterhead. It has to look like an official document. Two, it does need to go through risk management. So risk management does need to see the waiver prior to us publishing it to Active and then using it as our waiver for a particular program. Once once risk management has viewed it, you can send it over to IT, and what IT will do is they will load it into the system so that when you do the change checklist and you do an add new, it appears here on this list of available waivers. Okay. So that's waivers. Very simple. very powerful tool, allows us to do a lot with interacting with our members and getting some forms and things completed. Hopefully this has been useful to you, and I hope to hear or see you at the next self-paced training. Thanks, and have a great day.